Hi, my name is Lisette Lutz, and today we will be producing a mixed media foliage painting inspired by Cristina Rodriguez's artwork. We will be exploring the ways that you can connect with nature through art. This lesson is intended for middle school students, grades 6 through 8.
So for this lesson, we're going to be making a mixed media foliage painting. We're going to be using a variety of materials that you see here today on my table. For starters, you're going to need a canvas. You're also going to need some white glue and some water and a couple of extra brushes because we will be painting. I'm using acrylic paints today. The colors that I have here are sap green, some darker green, like a phthalo green, also alizarin crimson, which is a really nice kind of a burgundy color, and a little bit of white. You'll also need a pair of scissors to cut your flower petals because we're going to be making some handmade flowers, some masking tape to put those petals together, some cardstock or just heavy thick paper. We're going to be using this to make our flower petals, so a few sheets of that, a pencil, some wipes and paper towels, then some tissue paper. So I'm going to be using a nice bright magenta fuchsia color and pink for my flowers, but you can do yellow or purple or any color that you'd like. And then for the embellishments, we're going to be adding on some elements from nature. So I have some really soft reindeer moss here, and then I have some fake leaves here that are going to be painted and attached and glued on, and some beads. You can also put little gemstones or little rocks or pebbles, any kind of element that you want to bring that reminds you of the outdoors, because we're going to be bringing the outdoors in this lesson. And then I have here a glue gun to attach all of these embellishments. Okay, we're going to get started. So for the first step, we're going to paint our canvas, our background, and I'm going to be using the colors that are similar to the things from nature that we're going to be attaching. Okay, so I've got the green on my 4 edges, and I'm going to go ahead now and add some white to the center, just to create a little bit of contrast, the light against the dark. And I also want to do some paint splattering, which I'll show you that technique in just a minute. So you want to have kind of like a lighter surface for that to go on. And I'm going to add a little bit of that purplish pink color. All right, so once you have it where you'd like it, I think I'm pretty happy with it. I'm gonna actually get a little bit of water from my bucket here, and I'm gonna water down some of this green. You get a little more water, and you want to make it a little more liquidy, and then you're going to get your brush and use your hand and kind of karate chop it and flick it to get some nice paint splatter. And if you want to drip a little or drizzle, you can with some quick movements. All right, so now you're going to allow your canvas to dry before we move on to the next step. All right, so we're gonna make some flowers. So you can see on the finished piece, these flowers are made out of cardstock and they've been covered in tissue paper. Some of the layers of the petals were painted with acrylic paint, and really fun to make by hand. So we're gonna take this paper. This is kind of a thick, kind of like a Bristol paper or a cardstock. And I'm just gonna draw some petal shapes, almost like a heart, all rounded edges. And we can do different size flowers. So these will each make a petal. and they're gonna be sandwiched and layered together. I'm gonna make a smaller flower. So you're gonna see this set of hearts are a little smaller than the other set. And I usually do about 5 petals for each flower. Okay, so I'm gonna cut these out. And when I cut them out, I like to separate it from the piece of cardstock. It just makes it easier to handle. Okay, so in this container, I have poured some white school glue and mixed it with a few tablespoons of water so that it's nice and liquidy and runny. And then I have some sheets of tissue paper. I have pink and I have like a bright fuchsia. And we're gonna coat our petals with glue and tissue paper. So I'm actually gonna paint the petal with a little bit of that watered down glue, and you can just stick it right onto the tissue paper and just cover it. Just brush it on, stick it to the tissue, flip it over, put some more glue, and fold that extra tissue paper. And you can even brush the finished petal. Here, I'm gonna use a scissor just to cut away the excess. So once it's covered, just brush it again with that glue. It kind of makes it shiny and a little bit stronger. So I'm gonna cover all these petals that way. So how do we put these flowers together? You can use masking tape, or you can use the hot glue gun if you have a hot glue gun nearby. This is gonna dry quickly. It's gonna hold and set things in place for you. So I prefer using the glue gun, but you can definitely use this masking tape, which is just like paper tape. It's 3/4 of an inch. So you just wanna get like some pieces of the tape pre-cut and waiting for you. So I pre-cut some of those. And what you will do is you take your petals and you fold them in half. So you pinch them down the middle. So I'm gonna collect, these are my larger petals. And you kind of nest them and nestle them, one overlapping inside of the other. And then you use the tape to connect them. And you might be wondering, well, the tape is beige and the flowers are pink. How are we gonna fix that later? Well, later on, we're gonna be adding paint to add details to the flower, so you can paint that center, which will add depth. It's actually a good thing. So I'm just gonna continue folding each petal. Remember, 5 per flower. You can do 6. I usually do 5. Pull on it, make sure they don't fall off, that they're nicely connected. And now my last one, my 5th petal. I'm gonna fold it, open it up, and I'm gonna actually layer it in the back this time of all of them. And you can get another piece of tape to kind of secure everything together and make sure that you have a good, strong bond. So I'm just reshaping the edges. There we go. So I'm happy with this shape. I'm gonna put this on the side. I'm gonna work on my next flowers. Here's my medium one. I already have 4 of the petals connected. I'm gonna add the 5th one, and I'm using hot glue for this one. So for the hot glue gun, just put a little bit there on the tip of the petal, on that teardrop shape, and I'm just gonna connect it in the back. All right, so now that the flowers have dried and they're all finished, now comes my favorite part, the fun part. We're gonna put all of the elements together, and I even have some seed beads that are in really pretty kind of iridescent green, shades of green and turquoise. I've got my flowers, I've got some paint, my water cup, my brushes, and my hot glue gun. Remember, you could use regular glue, it's just gonna take a lot longer to dry, and you'll wanna do that last. All right, I think I'm happy with the sizes now. I kind of shrank this one and cut it back a little. And I'm gonna attach now the flowers where I want them to go. So I'm gonna put one here. I'm gonna put one at the top. And this larger one with the tape, I'm gonna go ahead and put it down at the bottom. Now what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna add some paint, burgundy, this alizarin crimson. I'm gonna add it to the tips of my petals and the center. So if you just kind of scrape the edge of your brush that has just a little bit of that paint color on the edge, it covers up that white line and actually gives it more depth and makes it look more realistic. And I'm gonna take a little bit of blue and I'm gonna mix it with that alizarin crimson, that burgundy color, and make like a purple, a nice deep purple. And I'm gonna add some spots to the center of the flowers, almost like a sponge-like effect. I'm dabbing the middle of it and just touching the edges, just scraping the brush along the edge. And now I'm gonna use some green, that phthalo green that's very dark. I'm gonna add a little bit to my leaf and paint over it so it becomes more part of the canvas and it blends in a little better since it's a silk leaf, a fake leaf. And I'm gonna add just a little bit across my reindeer moss too. Just a little bit, to incorporate it into the composition a little better. And then I have a little iridescent green that I found. It's kind of like a pearlescent greenish color. I'm just gonna add just a touch as highlights. Add some to my moss. All right, so this is the part where you should step back, take a look at your piece and see if you're finished or not. Sometimes as an artist, that's the hardest part, is figuring out when you're done and when to stop. And it's a nicely balanced composition. So for me, I'm done. Now I can hang it up and enjoy it. I hope you all enjoyed this lesson. Thank you.